Woo! Hi everyone. Another wonderful day, another beautiful day. And I don't remember if I ever did a live on YouTube. I think this is probably one of my first. But yeah, it's the first of many. And yeah, I think I'll start doing lives on YouTube just like I do lives on Facebook and other platforms. However, this one is going to be a little bit different because we're going to be talking football, we're going to be talking soccer. Um, Um, yeah. Uh, I like the layout though. I like the layout. It's looking funny. By the way, let me make sure the volume is okay before we dive into the topic of today. Let me make sure the volume is okay. Let me actually make sure we are live before I go to run my mob like at the talk, whereas nothing is happening. How do I even check if we are really live on YouTube? Home, channel. Okay. Okay. Okay, it seems like we are live and it's actually so yeah, this is actually going to be the first of its kind, one of the many videos we're going to start doing on YouTube. It's hard time I start building the YouTube channel, it's hard time I start growing the YouTube channel, which is something that has existed for a very long time. But like I said, it's high time we start having conversations over here just for YouTube, longer videos, interesting videos, videos that are more educating. Today we're going to talk about football. We're going to talk about sports. We're going to talk about African football, and I'm just going to share a little bit of knowledge I have about African football. The topic, like you guys noticed already, is 10 most asked questions about African football. Let's be cool. Which is the first question will be, who is the best African footballer of all time? Now, this is one of the biggest debates we've had in a very long time. Who is the best African footballer of all time? Some people feel like it's DJ Drogba. Some people feel it's Josh Weah. Some people feel it's Okocha. Some people feel it's Samuel Eto'o. Some people feel it's Mo Salah. Some people feel it's this guy from Ivory Coast. The guy, not Kolo Toure, Yaya Toure. And this, some people even feel it's Abedi Pele or even Roger Mila. Now, people have their different reasons why they prefer certain players. Some persons feel like, somebody like Weah, he won African best, right? So he is definitely African best of all time. Other persons feel like Samuel Eto'o, he did not win he won world best. Weah. Other people feel like no, Samuel Eto'o should be African best of all time because he won four-time African best, he won Champions League, he won the Olympic, and people have their different reasons why they feel like this specific person should be African player of all time. But if you ask me, and it's not just about me, the statistics show also that Samuel Eto'o is African footballer of all time. I think as of now, if you look at the stats, he has the most goals for Nations Cup. He has internationally and even in African soil, I think he's the most decorated African player. Why would he not be the African best of all time? Now, maybe with time, people like Mo Salah are coming up strong because I have a feeling Mo Salah is going to win African best player this year. Now, but Mo Salah doesn't have the Champions League. You understand? The only person in the African continent who is battling with a two on who is African best of all time, I think it's Yaya Toure, who also has four African best player and has Champions League and I think has Nations Cup. But guess what? Samuel Eto'o has two Nations Cup, has an Olympic gold medal, was a finalist of the Confederations Cup. So he stands out. So for me, African best player of all time is not other person but Samuel Eto'o. The other question is, which is the most successful African national team? Another conversation that is difficult to have, especially because we have seen teams like Egypt winning seven AFCON, but yet the World Cup, and they are not really that productive, and they have not qualified for almost every for some World Cup. Let me put it that way. We see teams like Nigeria who have I think four on Nations Cup right now. always been to the World Cup, has made it past the first round. We have teams like Ivory Coast, who are coming up strong. We have teams like Ghana. We have Senegal. I think they played the quarterfinal at one time. I think the quarterfinal one time. We have teams like Ghana also. But I think the competition will be between Cameroon and Egypt. Cameroon and Egypt, because I think we are just two Nations Cup short from our Egyptian brothers. However, we have tournaments that they've never won, and we've participated in more World Cups than them. We have a quarterfinals. We've gotten to the quarterfinals of the World Cup. They've never done that. If you ask my opinion, I think the best African, the most successful African national team should be crowned Cameroon. I don't know what you think, but that's what I think. If you think otherwise, let us know. Which African country has won the most African Cup of Nations titles? It's undoubtedly Egypt. I think they have 7, and then next to them, I think it's Cameroon. If I'm not mistaken, next to them, I think it's Cameroon. Before you have other people like Nigeria and and all of this. Yeah, when it comes to the African soil, Egypt has dominated African football for a very long time. I mean, when it comes to the African soil, whether at club levels or national team level, we have their team. I think Ali. Yeah, I think Ali. They've been winning the Champions League back to back and things like that. Yeah. So when it comes to the most African Cup, it's Egypt. Now, who was the first African player to win the Ballon d'Or? Josh Opongwea. I think he is the only African player that has won. African by African. But if you want to say African by descent, almost every year it's an African that is winning. It's an African that is winning. But yes, Josh Opongwea is the only African that has won the Ballon d'Or. He was the first, and he is, as of the moment, the only African, I think, that has won the Ballon d'Or. No, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think, let me see. Africans that have won Ballon d'Or. Let me see. Yeah, Josh Weah is the only African to have won the Ballon d'Or. I don't know why. Is it like we have not had wonderful players? We've had great players. We have somebody like Samuel Eto'o and I think Didier Drogba come close. And now the conversation is even about Mo Salah. That was why the other day Jamie Carragher said whatever he said, and people were so angry. Africans deserve to win the Ballon d'Or. Our people are talented, super talented, really talented, and so they deserve to win. If the chance is there, give them the Ballon d'Or. Eto'o was close to winning, except for the fact that I don't know. I don't want to start saying things that people feel like, okay, you're making excuses. However, Eto'o was really close when I think Cannavaro won. Who was the first? Okay, we answered that one. Which African players have won the UEFA Champions League? Nah, the list is long. The list is long. But I think the person who has won the most titles when it comes to the Champions League should be between Jeremy Njitap and Samuel Eto'o, or Jeremy Njitap, Samuel Eto'o, and Yaya Toure. Let me see. Let's just Google. Let's not waste time. Which African has won the most Champions League? European Champions League. Okay, over here it says Eto'o. I think Eto'o has won the most. He has I think 3 Champions League or so, and at one time he won the treble, right? He won the treble with First of all, he won with Barcelona, and then he went to Inter and he won. But we have people like Yaya Toure who have won the Champions League. DJ Joe. We have so many Africans who have won the Champions League. Who are the rising stars in African football? Man, nowadays we have so many of them, so many of them super talented. But I think at the moment, the person who is the African best right now is actually a rising star, Lukman. But for Cameroon, I know people like Baleba. I know people like yeah, Baliba is actually one person everyone is talking about right now. An African you should pay attention to. He plays for uh, Brighton. He plays for Brighton in England, and so many big clubs are looking at signing him. Which is the most successful African club team? Okay, now I should have done my research for this one, but I think it should be Al Ali. I think it should be Al Ali. Most successful African club team. Yeah, Al Ali of Egypt. I think I said it earlier. I said when it comes to African football in Africa, I think Egypt has been dominant. Has been dominant. They have seven Afcons in at the level of the club. The Egyptian team Al Ali has been dominating, winning back-to-back Champions League. What are the biggest rivalries in African football? Oh my God. I think north of Africa, you have Egypt versus Algeria. Anyway, Egypt versus Algeria, Egypt versus Morocco, Morocco versus Egypt is just a rivalry. In the West, you have Nigeria versus Ghana because those two have been the backbone of African football, West African football for a long time. So when Nigeria is playing Ghana or Ghana is playing Nigeria, it's always a huge thing. And then Central Africa, you have Cameroon, but Cameroon doesn't really have rivals in Central Africa. Then I think the rival for us can be Nigeria. When Cameroon is playing, Nigeria is a big deal. Or when Cameroon is playing, however, down south you have South Africa. I don't know if they have any rivals going on over there. In East, football for some time was not really huge in the eastern parts of Africa. However, the five biggest football nations that I know existed in Africa for some time used to be Cameroon, Nigeria, Egypt, Cameroon, Nigeria, Egypt, Ghana, and Cameroon, Nigeria, Egypt, Ghana, and between Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire, you can add one of them. Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire. Let's just add Cote d'Ivoire. Yeah. So every time these clubs play amongst themselves, it's actually major. It's actually huge. It's actually big. How has African football influenced European leagues? African football, just like America, not North America, South American football, are actually the biggest contributors of players, of talents to the European League. I remember because of the competition they bring, first of all, the players from these areas are really, really affordable. And then they are talented, they are skillful, and like Mourinho said, they will do what you want them to do, and you will get the result you want. So it's pushing actually the European leagues, the European teams, European players to work extremely hard. Probably reason why their league is the best. Probably reason why they stand the chance of winning all these major competitions, whether it's the Champions League or the World Cup or all of these things, club World Cup or things like that. So yeah, the African football has been the go-to place for people to look for talent, cheap talent. Let me put it that way. It's just cheap talent. Yeah. Let me see. 10. Let's 10 most asked questions about Cameroon football team. Yeah, so that was it for the 10 most asked questions about African football. We started with, let me just go through the lists and then we'll go to 10 most asked questions about Cameroon football team. Oh God, where am I going? Who is the best African footballer of all time? For me, it's Samuel Eto'o, undisputed internationally and even in Africa. Out of the continent and even within the continent, he is just a super guy. Which is the most successful African national team? For me, it should be Cameroon because international, like out of the continent and within the continent, we have something that at least because within the continent we are the second. As in the number of AFCONs, but we've been to almost every AFCON. Now, when you go out of the continent, we've been to almost every major competition. And we have at least won the Olympic gold medal. And also, um, we were finalists at the Confederations Cup. So I think we should be the favorite when it comes to the most successful African national team. Which African country has won the most AFCON? Egypt, undoubtedly. They have 7. The second, I think, is Cameroon, and then other countries come with maybe 4 and things like that. Who was the first African player to win the Ballon d'Or? They were not just the first; they're the only African player that has won the Ballon d'Or, and that's Mr. George Oponweya. Why haven't African teams won the FIFA World Cup? Oh, I did not answer this one. I skipped it. Which African players have won? Okay, why haven't African teams won the FIFA World Cup yet? That is a good question. It's a complicated question also, especially in 2025 when the play field is supposed to be level, is considered level. Why has an African team not won the World Cup? Africa is still a corrupt place. We still have leaders who don't understand the importance of us winning competitions like that. The system is still very corrupt. Most of the times, it's not the best of our players that represent their countries. People, because of political reasons or for regional balances, will just select whoever and they go represent the country. However, for me, if you ask me why it's difficult for an African team to win the World Cup, the only problem is the fact that we still don't have structures. Most African countries, though they have very talented players, we still don't have structures. We still don't have structures put in place where a player can play at one level and they go to the next level and they go to the next level, and there is that follow up until they get to the national team. Now you will argue me, you will say, oh, but why is America not winning? Do they have structures like that? Why is South Africa not winning? Do they have structures like that? Like I said, it needs for a country to be one of those that are extremely talented, and then if you put in place that structure, it will guarantee them winning competitions. Now, another reason why African nations have not won the World Cup for me would be the fact that most of their projects are 2-year projects, 1-year projects. Like we start thinking about winning the World Cup when it's time to go play the World Cup. That's not how it works. It's supposed to be a 20-year project. Okay, in 20 years, it's going to be 4 World Cups. We must do everything possible to win one. What can we do? First of all, we have to have a group of very young players, about 60 of them, and see how we can manage these 60 young, good, talented players for the next 20 years. If you make a plan like that, it's possible for you to win a World Cup. Look at all the teams that have won the World Cup. They always have a group of players that play when they were like really young and they graduated to the other categories until they played for the national team. If you look at Cameroon national team, the most successful national team squad we've had was between 2000 and 2002. And if you look at these are guys who came from the Brasserie School or the Kaji Sports Academy, and they played their way up to winning the Nations Cup and winning the Olympic gold medal. So that's one of the reasons why personally I feel like Africa has not won any Nations Cup, any World Cup, and if they can start preparing, not just prepare for a specific World Cup, but prepare for 20, 30 years, put in place structures that can guarantee that they will have players who not only play for a certain category and disappear, but play for a category and graduate to the next category in a group, then it will be possible for us to win the World Cup. The last reason for me why I feel like it's difficult for us to win the world tournament is because most of our players are trained in Europe. They play for European clubs. Um, so when they play over there, they're working with people who know them. When they come back to play for us and play for World Cup, they play the World Cup. Most of them are known already, their style of play and everything. Now, we don't have as many professional players as most other teams. So, for instance, if you look at a team like Spain, you look at their first 11, almost all of them are playing in top teams in Europe and are not just playing there, they are starting. But if you come to a team like Cameroon, you have Anguissa, who is playing for a top team. You have Baleba and Buemo, who is playing for average teams in England. You have Onana, who is playing for a top team. Besides those four, which other person? You have Abubakar who is playing maybe what you have. You just so if you put together the team, the entirety of the team, most European clubs have players who are playing high level football, high level professional football than most African teams. So it'll be difficult for a level professional players playing high level losing against a team that has maybe just 2, 3 high level professionals. Football is about competence. Football is about being professional. It is knowing what to do and when to do it and doing just the right thing. When Spain won the World Cup, it looked so easy because most of the players were from Barcelona and Real Madrid. Most of them were even from Barcelona. They had this chemistry amongst them. Now imagine a team where somebody is playing Al Ali, someone is playing Canon, someone is playing. It's just, and then they have just less than 7 days or 14 days to build that chemistry before going for a game. Yeah. So the other question was which is the most successful African club team? Al Ali, we talked about that. What are the biggest rivalries in African football? We talked about Cameroon, Nigeria. We talked about Ghana, Nigeria. We talked about Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon nowadays. We talked about in the north, you have Morocco versus Egypt or Egypt versus Morocco. Or yeah, how has African football influenced? Because Africa is the land of milk and honey when it comes to talent. So most European clubs have benefited from African players, the likes of DJ Drogba, Samuel Eto'o, Sadio Mane, Josh Opongweya. The list is just like Yaya Toure. The list is just long. Now let's talk about Cameroonian football in less than 10 minutes, and then we can wrap this up. How many times has Cameroon won the African Cup of Nations? I think it's 5. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I think it's 5. Yeah, I think it's 5. Yeah, Cameroon has won the AFCON 5 times. Who is the greatest? The last one was 2017. 2017, we did not even expect. Most people don't even remember we won. Was it 2017 or 2019? 2017. Most people don't even remember we won the AFCON in 2017. However, we did. Who is the greatest Cameroonian footballer of all time? Now, this is a debate that has been going on for a very, very long time. The greatest African footballer of all time, especially because you have two icons. It boils down to Roger Milla and Samuel Eto'o. Roger Milla is of the old generation. Now, most people from that generation feel he's the greatest that existed. And their argument is, oh, no, it's because of Roger Milla that we have Samuel Eto'o. So Samuel Eto'o cannot come and be the greatest Cameroonian footballer of all time because Roger Milla inspired Samuel Eto'o. That's the same thing Samuel Eto'o says. He was inspired by Roger Milla. Guess what? If you want to go by stats, especially people from the younger generation, we feel like Samuel Eto'o is the greatest, not only Cameroonian footballer of all time, but African footballer of all time. He has won everything that you can win on the African soil, and he won so many things that you can win internationally. So whether in Africa or in Europe, Samuel Eto'o dominated the game, dominated the competition between him and Roger Milla. Now, did Samuel Eto'o play in Cameroon? No, he never played in Cameroon. That's another argument people are making. Roger Milla played in Cameroon, played for Touré, and did wonderful things. Played in Kumba, played in all these places, and did wonderful things. So some people feel like if we are talking about the best African Cameroonian footballer of all time, it should be someone who actually played in Cameroon and then went out to play elsewhere. Who is the best Cameroonian footballer of all time? Do you think it should be Roger Milla or Samuel Eto'o? Or do you think it should be some other persons that we don't know? Let us know in the comment section. How many times has Cameroon qualified for the FIFA World Cup? I don't remember, but it should be more than 5. Because they started in 1982 and then they skipped 86. I think they were there for 90, 94. They were there 98, 2002. I think they were there 2006. I think they skipped 2010. I think they were there 2014. I think they were there 2018. I think they skipped. And the other year they were there. So they've been to the World Cup more than 6 times. What is Cameroon's best performance in the World Cup quarterfinal 1990? It was wonderful. It was spectacular. It was good. It was really, really good. If you look at the images, if you look at everything, you're like, wow, this was wonderful. First of all, we beat Argentina in the opening game, and then we went ahead and trashed some teams like Colombia and some. It was just wonderful. I think that was when Roger Milla made his name legendary. That was when he decided to write Cameroon on the map. He decided to write the name Cameroon on the world map. It was a wonderful experience for Cameroonians, especially for their president, who at the time was, I think, 8 years in power. Yeah. But it was a wonderful experience. 1990, we were quarter-finalists of the World Cup, and some people even feel like we were cheated out of the World Cup. A reason why they even decided to play a friendly game, because actually England beat us. England kicked us out of the competition. But after the competition, we decided to play a friendly game with England to confirm that, okay, you guys really won us. There was no cheating and things like that. Who is the all-time top scorer for Cameroon? I think now, if you say top scorer, I don't know what goals you're counting or whatever, but Samuel Eto'o should be the all-time top scorer, because right now, I think it's Samuel Eto'o. I think it's Abubakar Vincent, and then I think it's Francois Umambik. That's the reason why I still argue that Samuel Eto'o is the all-time Cameroonian best player, is the Cameroonian best player of all time. If you try to kick Samuel Eto'o out of that competition in Cameroon and say Roger Milla is the best, then you have Roger Milla competing with people that, Samuel Eto'o is all-time best. Who is the current coach of the Cameroon national team? Marc Brice is the current coach of the Cameroonian national team. Controversial coach, though, very, very controversial, especially with his outing, especially with the fact that there's this back and forth between him and the federation. I just hope they can get to fix things, though. And he has actually, as of now, his result not really that bad. He's been winning games, not lost a game. They'll either draw or they win. Some people feel like he has not really played against a typical African team. He has not really played against a tough African opponent. But for me, I don't look at it like that. I feel like football is round, and every country, every nation right now is just good. So whoever you're playing against is a good opponent. Why is Cameroon called the Indomitable Lions? I never asked myself that question. Can we just Google? So according to Google, these are results. The Cameroon national football team is nicknamed the Indomitable Lions because the nickname signifies that the team is unbeatable. The Lions are also a symbol of Cameroon. Okay, I don't think that is a good reason. I really wanted to have a specific reason why they were called the Indomitable Lions. With an impressive 5 AFCON, it is very easy to understand and see why Cameroon is called the Indomitable Lions. It is impossible to defeat or subdue them. Man, it's easy. Russia trash us at 7-0. And what are you guys talking about? I really wanted to know how the name came up. I think I'll Google that, and then in the next some other segment, I'll tell you guys about why they are called the Indomitable Lions. Which Cameroonian players have played in top European clubs? We have so many of them. So many of them. I don't even want to call names. So many of them from the 80s, back in the 80s to the 90s and to now. Now I don't even know if Manchester United is a top European club, but we have one person trying to stop shots every day. Who's playing for Manchester United. We've had players play for Liverpool. We have had players play for Chelsea. We've had players play for Manchester. We've had players play for Barcelona. We've had players play for Real Madrid. In Italy, we've had players play for Inter Milan. We have had players, I don't know if for Juventus. Yeah, we've had players play for almost every top European side that you know. Yeah. What is the biggest rivalry of the Cameroon national team? The biggest rivalry is Nigeria. When we play against Nigeria, man, probably because we are not only neighbors, but I know a lot of Nigerians who grew up in Cameroon. I don't know. I think there are Cameroonians who grew up in Nigeria also, but there's a lot of Nigerians in Cameroon. And yeah, these two African countries have been neighbors for a long time. And one point in time, there was part of Cameroon that was even managed from Nigeria. And right now, there's even part of Cameroon that was given to Nigeria. They decided they wanted to join Nigeria or whatever. So I think there's that relationship. And in as much as when it comes to the numbers, Nigeria is 200 and something million. Cameroon is just probably 35, under 35 million. We still feel like we can stand them. And we've done that. A good reason why we went to Abuja one time and trashed them in front of their public. Yeah, but the biggest rivals for Cameroon when it comes to football is Nigeria. And I think that was how the rivalry shifted from Cameroon, Nigeria to Cameroon, Ghana. But now, the biggest rivalry is Cameroon, Ivory Coast. Guess what? They're going to clash horns. They're going to clash heads in Morocco. In Morocco. Yeah. Those two are going to go tete-a-tete in Morocco. How has Cameroon contributed to African football history? Well, like I said, winning 5 Nations Cup, quarterfinalists for the World Cup, which was at the moment, for a very long time, the best African result at the World Cup we had. Winning the Olympic, finalists at the Confederations Cup, producing all these wonderful players. I think Cameroon is actually the inspiration. Cameroon is that example the rest of Africa is trying to follow. Cameroon is that one nation that has done a lot. And if you're a Cameroonian, if you're an African, you should be proud of what they have done. And we expect them to do better, right? So we are not just one of the best teams from Africa. We have produced the finest also. We have had more players win the African Best Player. I think, correct me if I'm wrong. We've had people like Mboma. Like there was a time when it was just rotating amongst Cameroonians. It's either Mboma that's winning, or Eto'o, or Etame, or I don't know, all of these other guys. And yeah, so I think if you want to read anything football in Africa, Cameroon is a force to reckon with. Thank you guys very much. This was that 30 minutes for today, where we will just talk about things on YouTube. I just answer random questions about random things. And yeah.